Welcome back to another episode of Borderless Diaries, the international podcast where we're going to discuss what it's like to live your life abroad, the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. And today I am joined by a good friend of mine from the United States, but lives her life in Dublin, where she works for a global tech company. But not only that, she is also a comedian and about to start her very own podcast together with her sister, which we can't wait to hear as well. What I really like about Raissa is how she embodies the be yourself, get yourself out there mentality. And I think that that is exactly what we're going to dive in today. Funny enough, we met during COVID through friends of ours in Ireland. And we used to do a wine walks where it was basically the only way to keep us sane, but also have a little bit of girl time and catching up. It was a great time. It was a messy time, but a great time. And I can't wait to catch up with her today. So stay tuned. All right. Welcome to Borderless Diaries.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm very excited what today will bring. It's been a few years since we catched up in Ireland, so I'm very keen to get to your story today and catching up.
It's great. Yeah, no, thank you so much for thinking of me, and I'm really excited to be here. And I know it's been way too long. We can't make it this long next time.
I know. We definitely need to do more of those wine catches up because that's
Yeah,
a thing that we used to do.
and now at a restaurant.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I can remember those cups. Remember those cups that you had? And I
Yeah,
was so inspired that I actually bought them as well. So now we can do that.
perfect. Perfect. We can walk on, you know.
Exactly. Exactly. I think that that would be good. So, Ray, every guest starts with the same question. What is one of the most unforgettable, funny, or downright awkward experiences that you've had while adjusting to a new country?
So I was actually I was thinking about this, and I feel like so for me because I moved to Dublin January 2nd, 2020. I had 2 months to adjust to Ireland before the world fell apart. So, like, I didn't have, like, any, like, specific weird, like, Irish experiences because I was really not in Ireland for long enough to, like, have an experience before everything shut down. But what I do remember is I it was, like, March 16th, so, like, the day before Dublin shut or Ireland shut down, and I was with my friend, Kyle at IKEA because that was a logical move, a pandemic hits, we should go to IKEA because that's safe, and we were, like, in, like, elevator, and there was this guy that was, like, talking about how, like, the army was gonna come down the street and, like, start, like, watching people, like, all the rumors that were getting spread around through, like, the WhatsApp chats and stuff, and I was just like, "Oh my gosh, like, the world's, like, I didn't realize Ireland was so strict, like, what's happening?" And then, like, as we know, like, none of those things happened, but I think it was kind of that introduction of, like, there's, like, there's a lot of hype and, like, it's kind of rumors and gossip, and you need to be aware of, like, what's truth and what's not, especially because like, the way that, like, rumors can get spread, especially in a small country like Ireland.
Definitely. And it blew up quite quickly as well, I feel like. I do remember, especially in the beginning, that everybody was like, I was relatively new to the country as well. I was there for like, what, a year maybe? Uh,
Mhm.
and then everything shut down. And everybody was also kind of like, oh, how are we going to make friends now? Everything is shut down. And there was a whole thing about you can't leave your apartment. You can't walk down the street anymore. So I could only imagine for you to be there for like, what, 2 months? And
Yeah.
hear that and just live on a small island coming from the United States, that have been kind of like an introduction to a country, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really weird decorating an apartment being like, "Is the world end or do I need any of these things?" Um, no, but, like and I think it was also just kind of like that awkwardness of, like, meeting someone, but being like, I guess I'm not, like, at work, I'd be like, "I guess I won't see you again," or, like, I have to talk to you from, like, 10, 5 feet away or whatever, and yeah, I mean, crazy. It's crazy how we've forgotten that too.
That is also true because even when I was kind of like thinking of you for this podcast, and then I was like, how did we meet again? And it was via mutual friends of ours, I think.
Yeah,
We had that. But because we were still in COVID, I remember like, oh, can we meet up or is that not allowed? And it's
yeah,
just like mind blowing to think about that now, where you needed to think, hey, can I actually go to your place or should we go out? Or like, can I shake your hand or can I not shake your
yeah,
hand? Or like that was such a weird time to you. And the
yeah, and then,
rest
like,
of
don't wanna put you in an awkward situation to, like, ask that question because, like, you're trying to, like, make new friends and you don't wanna come off as, like, being disrespectful and, like, you never knew, like, what people were thinking about, like, how people were approaching COVID, but,
gosh.
like, I mean, for me, like, I always was like, "Well, like, I'm alone," like, I think the big fear in Ireland was, like, you're gonna go home and you're gonna give it to your elderly grandparents and your parents, and, like, mine were in California, like
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
honestly, if you're alone, and especially I think when we became friends, that was later in that stage as well.
yeah.
So it made it easier. But I do remember that it was kind of that awkward beginning of that whole journey, I guess. But speaking of California, you grew up in, I believe, a very free and supportive family in California. How did that shape the way that you show up for yourself now that you live in Ireland? And was that an adjustment in the culture of Ireland?
Yeah, so I would say, like you said, my family is very open, like, nothing is off the table when it comes to conversations, like, actually growing up and it's funny when I tell my Irish friends this, they kind of cringe at the idea, but, like, we would have a family meeting every Sunday where we would all sit down and talk about, like, because I'm one of 3, and so we would have, like, our schedules for the week, like, what my dad's a doctor, my mom's a nurse, so, like, what their schedules looked like, why my older brother and I were fighting, like, what my sister had to like, younger at top of mind for, like, anything that you just kinda have, like, going on in the family, my dad would, like, make sure that we sat together and talked about it, which
Yeah.
as kids, we were like, "We don't want to do this," but then I think growing up, we were like, "Oh, wow, this is actually, like, really helpful for, like, us as a especially as siblings, our foundation." And it was funny because my friends would, like our friends would, like, get wind of this, and then some of them would sit and, like, watch our family meetings because they thought they were entertaining, and
Yeah.
then, like, our really close friends would start to have input during the family meetings, and sometimes they didn't always agree with what I thought, and I was like, "Excuse me, I did not invite you as my friend to be agreeing with my sister over there."
It's like you should be at my side.
Yeah, excuse me. No, but so, like, that kinda gives you, like, that context of the openness, and so I think, like, when that obviously, like, gives you a lot of confidence to be able to, like, talk through your feelings and kind of, like, have that foundation, and so I think, like, my family definitely, like, supported me in doing something like this and, like, gave me the confidence at an early age to be able to move abroad. Obviously, I miss them at home and I miss them and everything, but I think, like, it was interesting to, like, come to Ireland where it is a little bit more conservative, like, you can definitely see kind of, like, the stronghold of Catholicism in certain areas, and, like, people just don't talk about things the way that, like, I was raised to talk about things. To be fair, like, maybe sometimes we probably shouldn't talk about everything, but, like, I think, like, that was a bit of an adjustment of, like, "Oh, okay, maybe, like, I'll bite my tongue a little bit more." I
That's
mean,
definitely different.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, but
Yeah.
I didn't know that you had family meetings. I actually do quite like that. I think if I look at my family, we used to do kind of like the Sunday dinners,
Mhm.
which is don't get me wrong, less free spirited, I think, because we didn't really had that culture of, oh, let's openly discuss anything more than in Ireland, I think. More Ireland in general, I think, is more conservative in that sense compared to the Netherlands or to California and how you show up as a family or discuss certain things. But speaking of that as well, you also do now comedy. And how has that sense of humor kind of helped you to find a place where you weren't with your family and there were, in California, I believe. How did that help you kind of like shape and find your place in Dublin?
Yeah, I mean, so it's interesting, like, or with the comedy, like, I didn't really start till, gosh, like 2 years into living in Ireland because for obvious reasons, the first 2 years were a bit of a walk. And so, like, it was like so I already had, like, an established friend group. And so from, like, the comedy perspective, like, I think I've at first really saw it as, like, okay, it's just kind of like my hobby. I go in, do my hobby, and then, like, kind of leave, situation. But, like, as I've been doing it longer, like, it's actually been super interesting just to, like, meet all the different cast of characters that you meet through comedy. Like, they all like, the cool thing is that everyone's kind of from all different walks of life. So, I mean, you have, like, the 20-year-olds who are, just starting out to, like, people in their 50s who have, like, crazy, like, experiences and all these different stories, and so I think, like, I guess, like, if anything, like, it kind of gave me more perspective and, like, kinda broadened my horizon of, like, all the different types of people out there and, like, also the different types of lives, like, people can lead. Because again, like, I do have a great friend group in Dublin, and I love my friend group, but we all are the same, we all work in tech, we all, like, do the same things on the weekends, and so the comedy world, like, I went into it being like, "Oh, I'm just gonna go in and do my 10 minutes and leave," and then I was like, "Oh, wait, there's, like, interesting people, and like, I've learned a lot from the people that I've been doing comedy with."
Yeah, I really like that. I think just to find your passion, especially in a different country as well, it takes a little bit of time to get there, but also get inspired by other people. Especially, I think in Dublin as well, everybody works in a tech place.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter which company it is. You all find each other basically. How did you actually find your established friend group? Because you had that from quite the beginning, I would say. You had that group of friends, right?
Yeah, so I was kind of like the one person, and then because of that, you start just it's like the knock-on effect. So, one of my good friends, Emily, she and I were friends in Chicago when I both at LinkedIn in Chicago, and she then moved to Dublin, and so when I moved to Dublin, of course, like, she was
Yeah.
new, so she told my other good friend now, Kyle, to send me a message on the first day I was in the office because she was out of town. I met
Yeah.
with him for a coffee, and then, like, the Americans kind of had, like, a little bit of a group in the link like any and so we all kind of, like, definitely during the pandemic really bonded and stuck together just because, like, we didn't know anyone else, we didn't
Yeah.
have any like, we really became, like, a family because of the fact that, like, we were in this incredibly weird situation where your worlds had to be so small anyways.
Yeah, no, I can definitely feel that. And I think it's really good that you had done that because it's you're in a different country, but like you said, you kind of need to build like almost like a family abroad, and especially during that time. Otherwise, it can be super lonely to start there and then just sit in your apartment and basically don't see anybody. So I think it's
Yeah.
really nice that you at least had like that feeling of, hey, I can build a friendship group here and not have like I don't know, that's that distance, I guess, into friendships, but also family that's living so far away.
Yeah. Well, and, like, and I was thinking about this too, like, we're kinda just reflecting because 'cause I've been in Dublin for 5.5 years now, but, like, it is really, like, when you move to a new country, it's like your first year of college, like,
Yeah.
freshman year of university, where you just want everyone to like you, and you kind of just say yes to everything. So, it was, like, a really weird situation where, like, it was you just wanted people to like you, and then it was an even smaller group of people that you were kind of working with almost because of the nature of the pandemic, and so, and I was fortunate where they were great people and, like, I'm still close with them, but I think at a certain like, it took me a few years living abroad where I was like, "Oh, wait, like, I can also think about, like, if I like them."
Yeah.
I feel like you're like, when you first moved, especially during the pandemic, you're kind of just, like, grasping at straws for, like, anyone to hang out with you because you feel so lonely a lot of the time, and luckily, the people that I met were fantastic, but, like, I think for the longest time, I had that mindset of, like, "Okay, do they like me? Do they like me?" Versus, like, "Wait a second."
Do I even
What do
like
I want?
No, that is actually really good insight as well because I do remember depending on where I was at certain times, but like in Ireland I had that same kind of like, oh, you're all in it together. This is kind of like a campus feeling of everybody sticking together. And I most of my friends were actually from work as well over there. But then when I moved to Dallas, that was right after COVID. So when I got into the office and it was just empty, like nobody was there. So I was like, how
Yeah.
on earth am I gonna make friends here? And then I met a couple of people and you say yes to everything, like you say. And then at a certain point I was like, does this even give me energy? And because
Mhm.
I similar to you, like, do they like me? I need to say yes, I need to do
Yeah.
this. And then I realized like hold up, maybe that person is not really the greatest fit. And it's okay to say no or like let go of certain ties
Yeah.
and where you just need it's important to find that kind of like supportive group when you live abroad, I feel like. Otherwise it's just even if you are with people, it still can feel lonely just because you're draining energy with the wrong people, I guess.
100%. And I'm like, it's taken me a really long time. I'm still learning it. Like, some of my close friends are like, Ray, you gotta calm down. Like, you need to start saying no to more things. And I'm really trying that more this year. But yeah, like that idea of like what gives you energy and what doesn't give you energy. And I think that when you first move abroad, you're so focused on not being alone and like just being like that again, like you actually are probably draining yourself even more because 'cause you're probably doing things that, like, you might not even wanna be doing or, like, that aren't giving you that energy, but you're kind of just so focused on, like, not being alone almost that you ignore it.
Yeah.
And so for me, like, going back to the comedy, like, when I started comedy, I was like, "Oh, this
Yeah.
is something that gives me energy that
Yeah.
isn't like." I mean, it's draining in a certain way where you do a show or, but afterwards, if it goes well, you feel so, like, happy, great high, but, like, you're kinda like, "Oh, I should be seeking that out more versus just, like, saying yes to everything." Never.
Like that. Would you give that as advice to people that are just maybe like starting now and finding that journey? Would you recommend them to find maybe more of their passion earlier on, would you say? Or
I mean, like, I would say if you have and that you've been thinking, try to go for it. I don't think that you force if you don't have the passion or something's like, you know what you wanna do, don't force it. But I would just say, like, check in with yourself more of, like, "Do I actually wanna do this, or am I doing it because I am in a new country and I have no other option, or I don't wanna say no because if I say no" and to be fair, like, when you do to a new country, you do have to say yes to the things that maybe you wouldn't say yes to a few years down the line. And that's totally fine, but I think it's just, like, having that constant conversation with yourself, being aware that you're doing it, because I think you can drain yourself really quickly without knowing why
yeah,
if you just keep saying yes.
yeah, yeah. I think that was also a learning for me, to be
Yeah.
honest. Was less of a learning in Ireland, I think, and when I moved to Australia, because in Australia I lived on campus, so that was different. But when I moved
Mhm.
to Ireland, it was easier to say yes, and you quickly had like a friendship group. And then, like I said, when I moved to Dallas, that was kind of more of that check in, like, hey, what is draining in sense of putting time and effort into something and it doesn't give you any type of energy back compared to now that I live in California, what you're mentioning about like doing comedy. Yes, it's draining because you're putting in your time and it's like tiring you, but it gives you energy back because you're finding like that purpose and like the things to do. So I think that that is a good moment to check in with yourself like, hey, what is giving me energy and what isn't? I think that
Mhm.
that's a really good thing. So
Yeah.
talking about what gives you energy as well, because right now on one side you have your full-time job, you're working in a global tech company, and on the other side you're trying to build more of like your creative projects. How are you balancing those types of work efforts in that sense?
The work in progress. Like I said, I'm learning to say no.
Yeah.
So I think, like, and I feel like I'm slowly starting to learn this. I think it is that protecting your time and, like, if I see, like, "Oh my gosh, I don't have anything going on Wednesday," instead of feeling the need to fill it with a dinner or, like, do something with a friend, be like, "Well, what does Ray need to do, or what does Ray wanna do? Like, what's Ray like?" And I think, like, scheduling in, like, that time for yourself because that's the time to work on those creative projects. I'm not great at it, I'm working on it right now, but that has been, helpful and actually, like, treating that as, like, an event versus, like, "Okay, I'm gonna be home and I have no plans on a Wednesday. I'm just gonna, like, watch TV tonight," which, to be fair, I have those nights too. Like, I'm currently rewatching Gilmore Girls because it's fall, and, you
Yes.
know, basic, but we love it. And so but treating it as a seeing it like having dinner with your friend, but you're with yourself, doing things that fuel you in a different way. Um, and then the other thing, and I hate saying this because it makes me sound like I'm getting older, but, like, on the weekends, really trying to maximize your time, and,
Yeah.
like, I'm trying to get better at, like, only going out, like, 1 night a weekend because, like, the reality of the situation is, like, if I go out, like, I'm not gonna really be productive until, like, 2 p.m. because, you sleep in and, like, there is something that makes you feel really smug about, like, not going out on a Friday and then waking up at 8 a.m., getting a workout in, and doing a few of your creative bits. So, again, work in progress. I'm not
Yeah.
fully practicing what I am preaching. I would like, the overall is treating the time with yourself as, like, an event and not, like, as free time.
Yeah, I think that is good as well because we're definitely getting older and it's also fall, so we do need to schedule in time for Gilmore Girls. So I'm
Mhm.
also doing that. But I feel like because we're getting older and it's almost like, okay, what I'm also learning right now is that like your job is not your identity, right? So you need to fill in your time outside of work. And I feel like because we're getting older, it's kind of like that balance between, oh, I'm going out, I want to do this, I want to do that, and protecting your free time, but also doing creative like projects what fulfill you as a person outside of like your 40-hour work week. That I think is just an interesting time in our lives right now with the age that we have, and I wonder if that is ever gonna, like, change, but just to have, like I'm coming more to that reality of, like, you are not your work, you are
Mhm.
outside of work, but also, like, how are you balancing out those things, right?
Yeah.
That's an interesting time.
I like that. I really I've thought about that for a while too, and for me, I actually kind of that hit me. That idea of, like, "Oh, wow, I tie a lot of my identity into my job," that hit me back when my company did its first big round, like, in 2020. I think a lot of big tech companies had that happen, and I had been there for I mean, I've been there for 10 years now, mad, but I started working there when I was 23, and my whole identity I mean, not
Yeah.
whole identity, but, like, big part of it was, like, when you tell someone you work at that company and they're like, "Oh, wow, that's so impressive." You tie your impressive to that versus you and I think, like, when first and I'm fortunate where I wasn't impacted, but, like, made me kind of rethink about, "Oh, wow, like, what's my identity? Like, I should be proud of the skills that I possess versus the fact that it's validated by this company that's hiring me." Um, but it takes and, like, it means, you're like, "Okay, well, what skills do I actually have that I can then go do the creative things? Like, who am I?" And
Yeah. Well, and
thinking
that is exactly what you're saying, like, to tie that more to what who am I as a person, what skills do I have, and, like, I think that that is so important where both of us right now are kind of like looking at that creative projects and having
Mhm.
like I had that realization I think the beginning of the year where I was like, "Hey, what do I actually want?" And like, where do I get my energy? But what are skills or what are things that I enjoy doing, and where can I still learn and grow? And to balance that out outside of your day-to-day job because like you said, everybody is like, "Oh, you work at that global tech company, and that's great, and I like
Mhm.
that, and I love my job, but I'm more than just that." And it was almost like if I have a success there, that means that I am successful. Instead of thinking
Yeah.
like, I'm still a human being, like, outside of my work. It should have not be all about like, "Oh, you're working and then 40 hours, and then I'm still very Dutch. At 5 p.m., I'm gonna go for dinner, and then it's kind of like, oh, what am I gonna do next? Now I need to improve
Mhm.
more skills, and I'm like, jeepers, like, calm
Yeah.
down. Like you're more than just your work, or like finding something that is where you feel passionate about, where you like yourself outside of like your job, and who are you as a person. I think is super important, especially abroad. I think.
Mhm. And, like, enjoying yourself, like, enjoying it. Because I think, like, the minute that you put I mean, obviously, you wanna do well at anything that you set time aside for at the end of the day, but I think, like, yeah, making sure that you're having fun in a certain way, like, and yeah, like, that's with
Percent.
especially, like, when you yeah, like, work is obviously work, and we all have to do it, but, like, making sure that you do have the other things that give you that energy. And it can be anything, like, obviously, like, you're doing the podcast, I'm doing comedy, but, like, it can be something as, like, simple as going home and just enjoying coloring in a coloring book because your mom wants that, you know? Like, I think like, I was, like, chatting with one of my friends about this the other day, and she was like, "Yeah, I don't really have any hobbies." She's like, "I'm gonna go sign up for this class that's, like but it's, like, a 20-minute train," and I'm like, "Well, why don't you just think about what you can do at home first? What's the path of least resistance?" To, like we all need, like, elaborate things, but it's like, if you want to paint,
Yeah.
I'll buy you a paint
Yeah.
brush.
But that is the thing as well. I think we all have this. I don't know, if I'm talking to my friends and we're all in this kind of like same age group, right? Where
Yeah.
we're making these side projects also so big, where sometimes it just starts so simple with just and doing kind of like check-ins with each other as well. Like, and if some hobby and it's not sticking, then forget about it and then try something else. Like, it's okay to try different things and not make it as big, and to just start simple, basically, and
Yeah,
just do something that you enjoy doing.
and when you
And when you
overthink
over
do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like, for comedy, it's like the more that I think about a set versus just going up on stage,
Yeah.
the worse it's gonna be versus just being like, "Oh, I have this idea, I'm just gonna try it because, like, again, I can fix it." No, there's nothing massive on the line, and
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
that's the case for a lot of, like, that
Yeah.
idea of figuring out what gives you that energy.
Yeah, oh, 100%. And talking about creative projects as well, I know that you also have an idea with your sister, who what is also kind of in that same line of, hey, am I gonna make, something unique? Do you want to share something about that?
Yeah, yeah, so my sister and I are going to start a podcast titled Sister's a Doctor. What would you ask, like, your doctor if it was your sister? Because my sister is a doctor. And so the premise is just to have those conversations and understand that, like, at the end of the day, your doctor is a sister, a mom, a friend, and, like, they're not judging you for the questions that you might have, because if anyone knew what I actually texted my sister on a daily basis, like, I don't think I could, like, show my face to the world anymore. I really would have to find a hobby where I'm only at home painting by myself. No, but yeah, like, and it's fun, and obviously, like, he's based in Chicago, so we're trying to figure out the scheduling and all of that, but, like, I'm excited for it, and it takes a lot of time, and since I like to call her the talent of the whole production because 'cause I'm not the doctor, and so I'm kind of the one that's doing a lot of the behind the scenes work, but, like, it's also I'm excited for it, selfishly, will be a fun way for me to make sure that I mean, I talk to her all the time, but have that conversation, every week, and she's a great person to work with, like, we've been working together for about 32 years at this point, and it's been going well, so
So far, we're still getting along.
our we do joke, she's a little bit younger, she's 2 years younger than me. I'm convinced that she's, like, way
am so curious about it as well because I think it's such a fun project, but also kind of like working with your sister, keeping that up, but also indeed like what would you share or what are questions that people ask? Because sometimes we're still so reserved going to the doctors, but that's why they're there. Like you
I
can ask them certain things that maybe you're like, oh my gosh, what am I
Is
asking?
it an ingrown hair or an STI? I don't know.
Exactly. Let's ask, like,
Let's
so
talk
I'm
about it.
super, super curious about that podcast as well. So once it's live, you definitely need to share it with us
Yeah.
because we all, I hope at least that everybody that's listening in today that is going to be like, oh, you know what? I have a question that I want to ask your sister.
Well, if we have listeners who will write in, we're happy to take questions. That's actually what I'm looking for. Like, ooh, that's a good question. I should ask that too. Or like,
Exactly. So if
yeah,
you're listening in today and you have a question for a doctor, then, drop it in the follow.
yeah.
All right, great. We're going into kind of like the last minutes of the podcast. So we do
Mhm.
want to end with a really quick kind of like fire questions and then wrap up. Are you
Okay.
ready?
I think so.
Okay. Well, it's we will start slow. I won't ask doctors questions, but what do you still miss the most about California?
Sun. I mean, the like I grew up kind of in like the Bay Area near San Francisco, and like I didn't realize that weather impacted plans until I was like went to school in Seattle and it rained a lot. I was like, hold on, what do you mean we can't do this because of weather?
Yeah, that's different in California, but you kind of took that journey from Seattle to Dublin, which is basically the same weather. I would
Yeah. Well, I did a stint in Chicago, so I just like I went big to really go for the change in the weather, and then I was
yeah,
like, okay, we'll go back to gray again. But yeah, California, just the sun and just it's always pleasant.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
you're in California, like it's
yeah,
pleasant.
yeah. It's right. I
And
mean,
my family. I mean, obviously I miss my family too. Sorry.
I in case they're listening. Okay, and what do you love the most now that you live in Ireland?
I mean, the crack.
Yeah,
Like and for those of you that don't know what that means, it's just the fun, like hanging out, like the good vibes. Everyone, like the Irish are so friendly and fun. You're never honestly, like, the fact that I started doing comedy in Ireland was probably a bit, like, almost egotistical of me because the Irish are so funny, so the fact that I was like, "Oh, I should try to be funny here," like, what was I thinking? But they're just, like, lovely, fun, funny people, or, a great country, so I would say, like, it obviously, like, it took some time for me to, like, understand meant because it was closed off for so long. But even, like, when the pandemic did hit, like, I was really fortunate, and obviously I talked about, like, my friends that were American, but I had a lot of, like and I probably should have given them a shout out earlier, but, like, lovely Irish friends who I work with at LinkedIn, and they really took me under their wing, like, one of
yeah.
my great friends, Laura, like, I was a bridesmaid in her wedding last year, and, like, she had kept an eye on me, another friend, Paul, like, I have really great friends as well. So, yeah, like, I don't know if that's a generic answer, but, like, the people in the crack.
No, I think that just really sums up the experience in Dublin because I recognize the same thing. I love the people that are in Ireland, not only the Irish, but the people that you just meet along the way. They're all so friendly and everybody is kind of like in it together type of mindset and want to help you succeed and want to be kind of like, hey, let's go out or let's do this. And yeah, if I can say what I miss or yeah, miss the most and love the most about Ireland, I would probably give the same answer. So I definitely recognize that.
I know I know, now I'm thinking, like, all of these, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I mentioned 2 names, like, I have so many other people to mention." Um, but yeah, I know, yeah, you get it, like, it's just, like, the vibes and also, like, I mean, like, no one gossips as well as you, like, if you will not be bored. You will not be the thing that and I don't know if you felt this too, but it's like when they start interrogating you and you're like, "Oh, no, I need to have the stories now, like, what's the goss? What's the story?" You're like, "What did I do in the past month? I don't know. Do you wanna know the stories?"
I think that was just I think it's just so funny because everybody is so either new-ish or like 2 years in Ireland, and then you have a couple that will stay longer for like 4 or 5 years and longer. But they are all like these certain people or groups where you're like, "Oh, have you heard about that?" And everybody in those tech companies, they all know each other as well for some
Everyone
reason.
knows each other.
Like one
Yeah.
big village basically, or like one campus around there.
Well, I mean, it's only a country of 5,000,000 people, and I think you have to remind yourself of that, like, it's small, so, like, behave.
Yeah. I think with those words of wisdom, we should close off the podcast. So, Ray, I really want to thank you for jumping on, be yourself as well. Something that I really admire about you, and just a crack of fun as well. I really enjoyed catching up with you, and I just see
Yeah.
the way that you evolved and kind of like made your life in Ireland. So, definitely, yeah. Thank you for sharing your story with us today.
No, thank you so much for having me. It was great to chat and, of course, catch up with you. I mean, we could go on for hours catching up ourselves.
Definitely do that, but then maybe with our wine talks.
Yeah, yeah, I think that we can schedule a follow-up.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you.
For the people that are listening in, stay tuned. Next week we will drop another episode. So we're here to not just unpack, but also unpack some emotional baggage as well along the way. The good, the fun, the bad, the ugly, everything in between. So thank you for tuning in and see you next week.